Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much, Raghib Saab, to be with us today in the Alumni Talks. We are very glad and we are very happy, mashallah, that you are with us. And very warm welcome, sir.
My pleasure.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर. तो सर माशाल्लाह इतनी लंबी जर्नी है, स्टार्टिंग एनईडी से की और माशाल्लाह यू आर स्टिल गोइंग ऑन. तो हमारा शो का जो फॉर्मेट होता है वो इस तरह से होता है कि वी स्टार्ट फ्रॉम योर एनईडी लाइफ. So once we start from NED life and then we talk about what you have done in the later stage and then later stage and then later stage. So हम लोग वही फॉर्मेट को फॉलो करते हुए बात करेंगे और जानेंगे आपसे कि किस तरीके से जो है वो आपने अपनी अचीवमेंट्स आप लेते रहे हैं अपनी ड्यूरिंग योर लाइफ साइकिल. तो इससे बात करेंगे. तो स्टार्ट करते हैं सर फ्रॉम योर लाइफ इन एनईडी से. सर थोड़ा सा बताएं सर, कब आपने स्टार्ट किया था, कब आप पास आउट हुए थे, किस तरह की लाइफ आपने गुजारी, थोड़ा सा बताएं हमें सर.
So I belong to batch which is called 8788, which means of course is a start somewhere in 87 88, and it ended in 93. So we graduated in 93. मेरा batch the same batch है जिसमें for example bunch of folks entrepreneur here in the valley belong to the same batch like Rehan Jalil or Tanveer Zamir and others. So we used to be all class fellows, batch fellows actually. So basically that time in Karachi.
आपका डिसिप्लिन इलेक्ट्रिकल था सर या CIS से थे आप, कंप्यूटर साइंस से थे?
Computer system engineering at that
computer
time.
System engineering. Okay.
System engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, if you remember, overall political situation was in turmoil. There was a lot of kind of complication going on when we joined, and within 1 month, I think it shut down for like 6 months. So that's why it was delayed and everything. But I must say, all in all, even we went through a lot of struggle and a lot of limitations, I think NED was the best experience in every aspect. Not only building the social relationship, friendships. I mean, the friendship that we developed at that time, we still have it. Just to give you an idea, here some of my closest friends are the same NEDians. So now our families are friends and kids are friends and everything. But those relationships that we established at that time, it's a lifelong relationship. The other thing I think what NED provided, it provided us an environment where we could get together, we could really excel competing with each other, but collaborating also at the same time. So it was a self-propelling mechanism. The students over there were brilliant. Many of them have made their own name and done great things in life. They all were hardworking and self-motivating people. And that by itself created an environment where we work together, we help each other, and we succeeded. So I think there are a bunch of teachers also in NED. They were really motivating. Of course, a lot of them did hard work, but specifically I would like to mention Professor Noman and Professor Nilofer Master. They both were really, I should say, dedicated to the students. They not only taught us, core subjects like, solid state, engineering or chemistry, but they really taught us the life skills. They really gave us this I should say believe in ourselves and hope that we can make a difference. We can do whatever we want to do, and I'm also giving the value of the society, having that ability or a thought process, I should say, to help others and not only kind of run after money or things like that, but really look into creating value. The concept that we got of creating value was right from there, that hey, what impact can we create on the society, what impact can we create to our fellow friends, with our fellow friends and on their lives, right? What impact create to the world.
तो सर इसमें जब आपने बताया, मैंने कुछ फोटोज भी आपके शेयर कर रहा हूँ साथ साथ में, तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि बड़ी ही कोई मजेदार लाइफ गुजारी आपने एनईडी में. ठीक है पढ़ाई होगी, आई बिलीव मैं वो भी पूछूंगा कि आप पढ़ने वाले थे, बैक बेंचर थे, क्या थे, लेकिन थोड़ा वॉक अस थ्रू द टाइम। मैं काफी सारी फोटोज देख रहा हूँ आपकी, बड़ी इंजॉयबल फोटोज हैं, तो ये कब कब की फोटोज हैं सर?
So mostly these are during NED time. I mean, in
हम्म
NED we used to have what we used to call picnic or things like that, and we
हम्म
also had a tour concept at that time, which I think
हम्म
these days there is no such concept,
हम्म
and it was fun time. We used to spend time with friends. We used to go various picnics, various places. We went
हम्म
together for almost a month-long tour, which we visited, various cities in Pakistan and so on. So
नॉर्दर्न एरियाज
that
में गए
was
थे?
a very, huh?
नॉर्दर्न एरियाज में गए थे?
जी बिल्कुल northern areas
हाँ
पे
हाँ।
all the way from starting
हम्म
from Lahore all the way to
हम्म
Kagan,
हम्म
and that was the best bonding time. When you live with
हम्म
each other, you really see all the pluses and minuses and really get to know each other. I would say that was the best time to socially connected with each other.
हम्म
And as I have learned throughout the life, the social value, social learning, I should say the human being, understanding the human nature and human psychology is much
हम्म
more important for any success than just the technology. A lot of people can be genius in technologies, but if they do not understand the other aspect, they cannot succeed. So I would say it was a best learning ground for us. Now, as far as the education side is concerned, I
हम्म
think the NED environment was very flexible environment. I mean, on hindsight and thinking about it, I think in some ways it was better that we did not have a very structured, education system. Because what happened in a structured education system, you are pretty much forced to do many things which you do not have passion for, right? It's not like NED was completely unstructured. You still have to, pass exams and do those sort of a thing. But many times you are not forced to attend classes and things like that, right? I mean, I still remember I used to hang out, like this picture itself is with friends and even the senior folks and junior folks. So we used to hang out with like-minded people
हम्म
who had interest to do, the learn, interest to create value, do projects. Those were really world-class projects that we did together, and in some ways we did few projects which was combination of groups from junior and senior both. So that was pretty, I think, excellent learning environment.
अच्छा, हमारे ज़माने में वी डोंट सी कि हम जूनियर्स और सीनियर्स जो है ना दोनों मिलके वो कोई प्रोजेक्ट कर सकें, तो दैट वाज अलाउड एट दैट टाइम बिकॉज जनरली जब
So,
हमने किया है उस वक्त वो सेम बैच के या सेम क्लास फेलोज के साथ ही करना है, उसमें या तो
so
दोस्तियां
again,
बहुत ज्यादा इंक्रीज हो जाती थी या दोस्तियां खत्म हो जाती थी, ये भी होता था।
so,
सो हाउ
so
वाज इट?
again, there
हाउ
is a
डिफरेंट
concept
वाज?
of a
या
formal. There's a concept of a formal NED project, which is
हम्म
called final year project. That, of
वन
course, you
डे
have to
यस
do within the class. However, most of the things that we did creative was not a form. There was not a course requirement. We did it on our own. You know,
वॉलंटरी?
yeah, it just for the
ओके
sake of learning.
ओके
I can give you an example. So, for example, when I came to NED, I did not know until the end of first year. I did not even know programming, right? And how I got motivated and learned programming was through this virus antivirus things. If you
ओके
remember, there was a computer brain virus from Lahore, and in fact, it was Tanveer and Rehan who made the first brain antivirus. But then that kind of motivated me, and I kind of worked with Tanveer, and I learned programming through studying viruses. And then ultimately 2 years later I made myself what I call the general purpose antivirus, which is more of a, I think of it as a kind of a good virus, which is kind of vaccine. And if you protect any executable through that vaccine, it will be protected against any other virus. So that whole concept of understanding that how these things work, it was more of a enjoyment. There was nobody forcing us, oh, you have to do it and you have to. It was more of a desire to learn, and it was more of a kind of fun projects working with your friends, and in fact in some ways competing with each other also, that hey, who has done better, sort of a thing. So that environment actually gave us, it was a propelling effect to grow in that.
Surely. Good to know about this thing because Rehan Jalil साहब भी हमारे पास थे, तो I believe he was also part of this group. उन्होंने बताया था हमें कि वायरस वगैरह आप लोगों ने मिलके किया था, वो he was from electrical and you were from computer system engineering, so collaboration थी, ये सिर्फ अपने as a student शौक था कि यार इसको कुछ करना है, so that was मतलब really
Basically,
fantastic to hear actually. Yes.
basically it was, we did not have, at least I did not have understanding of business, value of all those things. Most of the time it was the desire to learn, and just desire to create something, right?
Okay.
And in some ways we collaborated, and in some ways we competed as well, right? So in reality, I learned a lot from let's say Tanveer Zamir, all these virus and learning about viruses. But on the other hand, when I did the general purpose antivirus, that was motivated by, hey, can I do something myself? Can I do myself? And in fact, I tried to sell it too, but I ended up
In
selling it.
Karachi?
In Karachi, it was almost impossible to sell.
Okay.
Copyright was an issue. I mean, the moment you sell it, will become copy and all over the. So I ended up selling to somebody who was based out of the Dubai, for very small value. Now, if we think about it, the complete companies could be built on those concepts, so which we did not have any idea at that time.
ठीक है सर, तो मूविंग फॉरवर्ड माशाल्लाह से आई सी द जर्नी, वहीं से आप लोगों की लर्निंग और पैशन था कि भाई आगे आपको करना है, बिजनेस साइड पे जाना है, या कोई टेक्निकलिटीज होनी चाहिए. तो सर टेल अस अबाउट योर ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम कराची एंड देन डूइंग मास्टर्स, एंड किस तरह की ट्रांजिशन थी, जॉब स्टार्ट की या डायरेक्ट बिजनेस
So,
स्टार्ट किया,
so in reality,
मूव टुवर्ड्स Cavium? Yeah.
So in reality, I had learned already about Silicon Valley, because as a computer and system engineering major, I had this thought process that the most important thing is the hardware, and in hardware, most complex thing is processor. So from that point of view, Intel is the number one company making processors, right? So then it makes you think, okay, where is Intel? And you realize, okay, it is in Silicon Valley. And then when you investigate further, and at that time, remember, for us to learn these things was through the word of mouth, because there was no internet at that time.
Yes.
There was no easy way that you will search and figure out, hey, these are the companies. So then I learned, hey, there is an area in the world where all these companies headquarters are, companies like Intel, companies like Sun, companies like Apple. So
IBM,
those were
and all that, yeah.
IBM and all that. So those were the main hardware companies and processor companies. So this is where I had this thought that, hey, one day maybe because I should go there and be part of that kind of group of people who are driving these innovation and creating these values, right? However, I did not have financial means to get that. I belong to a family which was more kind of humble background. So what I did is this. In fact, I started job right in the second year of NED. So once I had learned programming, so I started a part-time job as a programmer, and I kept doing job throughout NED. In right after NED, I'll go to the job. And by the time I was in the final year, I was working for a company which was a Canadian-based company for software development, right? And through that connection, I found a connection of a company who that was Silicon Valley based, and they were doing more of various kind of designs. So this is when I joined that company, and then through that company, I came to United States.
Okay, perfect, sir. So, sir, start करते हैं Cavium से, sir. I mean, like, you are famous for Cavium, or maybe we can say Cavium is famous for you because of you, or it's vice versa. What was the thought process कि initiate किया आपने US से जाके, अपना मुल्क नहीं है, job की हुई है वहाँ पे, and then you come with an idea कि यार let's start this. So is it because of yourself or is it because of your circle? क्या वजह थी? Then you step up and said, no, I just wanted to do something big and I wanted to do it by myself. What was the motive?
I think in some ways I have been lucky to come across people and in the company of people who have always provided me mentorship. In addition, I have been happened to be in circumstances where I learned through going through that process. So when I came to this country, frankly, the company which I came with was doing the consulting
Mm-hmm.
services, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the idea came that, hey, maybe we should make some product, right? And at that time, working with that team, we started working on an idea, on a product idea, and that was the first VPN IPsec security gateway product, right? So in fact, that there was a company formed based on that idea. I ended up not joining that because I ended up going to I just thought I had to do masters, so I ended up joining a school at that time and continue my masters. But that was the first IPsec VPN, security gateway company called VPNet. Um,
Okay.
that gave me an idea that, hey, you actually do not have to be IBM or Intel or some big company. You actually, if you have a differentiating idea, if you can create value, um, then you can easily find the investor, because Valley is the best. At that time, Valley was the only place where you could raise fund for partnering for these ideas. Of course,
Okay.
now things have become much better. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
companies are formed all over the world. There are VCs, venture capitalists all over the world who are funding. So in a way, world has become more flatter and more connected. So it is not that difficult to get funding from anywhere else in the world. But at that time, being in Valley in some ways was a blessing to have
Mm-hmm.
access to that thing. So then,
So, that is a practical reality. लोग बात करते हैं कि यार मेरे पास बिल्कुल पैसा नहीं था and then I started. So it's a practical reality that you raised a fund and then you started. You mean
so
to say
so
this is the practical reality?
yeah, it is a reality,
Hmm.
but let me get to that a little bit, because of course
Okay.
there is
Mm-hmm.
the time I worked for various companies, and one of the company I worked, because I was still doing masters and I was still doing jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing masters in the evening and I was doing job in the daytime. So the company that I worked was a cadence design system. So they kind of send us as a design services consultant to various startups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I got exposure to many type of startups, and I could learn through them, hey, which kind of things work, which kind of things didn't work. So I got a lot of exposure and a kind of excitement, also creating value, creating things. So this is when I thought, okay, one day I will do my startup. But of course, because of the way system is, there's a visa limitation and so on. So of course, first focus was how do I make myself stable here. But
Mm-hmm.
then after that, once you have gone through that process, I tried various things. So it's not like Cavium was the first startup. There are multiple things that we tried, and through that process we learned that what works, what doesn't work. And one of the shortcoming I had was that I had purely, I mean, I'm at 28 years old, technical backgrounds. I had no understanding of the business side, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one of the friend actually, who is VC, he kind of advised me that, hey, you need to find somebody, a partner, and work on an idea where we can bring the business value. So this is where
Mm-hmm.
he introduced me to Syed Ali, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
we started working together. And then once we established the business plan, working together, we went for funding, and of course we got funding, and that's how we started.
Here I want to add one thing, sir. Audience को specifically कि पाकिस्तान से बाहर मैं भी रहा हूँ and आप भी हैं, तो एक बात बड़ी important है कि पाकिस्तान में जनरल concept ये है कि आप लोगों ने partnership नहीं करनी है, क्योंकि partnership is meant to fail. This is a very general concept, मैंने हमेशा सबसे सुना है. लेकिन partnership brings a very different value as well, जो आप अपने तौर पे नहीं कर सकते but दूसरों के through भी कर सकते हैं. So likely you said, sir, कि you were purely technical, from the technical field, and then you needed some help from the business side as well, and then your partner really complemented you actually.
So I would say it's a little bit a issue of trust also in Pakistan. I mean, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
very clear about it.
Mm-hmm.
US, I should say, the system of justice and laws are so strong that
Mm-hmm.
that you all of us, in a way, the system provide you this confidence that, hey, if you have a proper legal structure and if you are working together, then you can kind of, through the system, trust, even if you do not know that person that well, you can,
Mm-hmm.
that, hey, he cannot does any kind of cheating or something, and without committing a crime or something. And if it somebody does a crime, then it's a different story. But and if and the system, the justice in there, that if somebody does crime, they get caught also, and then and the follow through is there. So I think as a result of that, it is, I believe, easier to have the IP protection, IP right, and all those, which is much more established. And of course, Pakistan is also improving in these situations. So I'm hoping that even in Pakistan, these situations will be well controlled, or maybe already are controlled. I do not know exactly, but in the reality in US, you can trust reasonably with your partners. And I personally believe it is important to have these partnership, because you alone cannot do anything. It's all about the team. And many times people think, oh, it's all about the idea. It's not really. It is about the team which matter, because if the team is right and the market is right, then team will figure it out, what are the shortcomings and how do you maneuver and how do we scale from there.
Okay. So, sir, when exactly you started Cavium? When was the birth of Cavium?
So
Cavium, sorry.
Cavium was
Yeah,
officially started in January 2001. Of course, we were
January
working
2001.
with
Okay.
that for
And
several months.
कब ऐसा लगा कि ये आइडिया इट्स वेरी बिग? पहले ही लग गया था या प्रैक्टिकली लगा कि नहीं यार इट इज मेंट टू बी सक्सेसफुल?
So think of it. If I look at the journey of Cavium, it's not really a one idea or one company. Okay,
हम्म.
so I mean, think of it. You could think of, I mean, maybe with some other team and some other mindset, people would have done 3 4 companies, each worth about $1 billion, to be equal to what Cavium did, right? Because of the fact that this first product that we started with was security processor, and we kind of thought a little bit out of the box, and we thought where the future is going and design according to that, and we got pretty successful. I mean, products that we made in 2001 2002 had made us a security processing leader in the industry since 2003, and we still maintain that position. But then the security market it has its own TAM, and it cannot grow beyond certain. So yes, we could sell probably that company for a few $100 million and get out of it. But then what we thought is this: hey, as this whole infrastructure is growing and internet is growing, there will be need of more, I should say, complex processors. And this is where we started the Opteon processor, right? Which is a new way of doing network processing, where you can do a lot of high bandwidth and highly secure processing in a very easy to programmable way. So I think that is where it was much bigger market, much bigger TAM SAM, and that is where it kind of made us think that, hey, it can be really big. So that was the start of, I would say, goal to make it much bigger.
So maybe we can say when we started in 2001, so 2005, 6, something like this, then you very feel that it's gonna go big.
Yeah,
Year
so
wise अगर आप बताएं.
I think around 2005, we figured it out that we have the IP, we have the product, which can, and we are addressing in the market, which is much bigger. So it has a potential to grow much bigger.
Okay. And who were your direct competitors? Because I know maybe not the Intel, but the other one, AMD and all that, they are your real competitors, real time.
So,
These are
so
like huge,
in
big
re-
companies in the world.
So in reality, we were focused on network and security. So from that point of view, Broadcom was our direct competitor. In fact, there was another company, Hyphen, at that time, which were our direct competitor. But we actually got so much traction in the market that we pretty much did beat both of them in that. And then in when it comes to Opteon product line, which is more of a general purpose type of processor. So this is where there used to be a lot of smaller companies. None of them exist anymore. But the main competition ultimately came out to be that in compute is Intel and AMD, basically, because this is the market where they have their products as a secondary market, because their primary market is server and desktop and laptops, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
also use their processor in the infrastructure market, like networking gears and so on. So this is where we were focused on networking gears. So for example, infrastructure like 4G, 5G, for example, all these appliances that companies like Cisco's of the world makes, our processors are being used in that. So yes, in that segment, I would say our biggest competitor was Intel. Even today, if you ask who are our biggest competitor, is really Intel and Broadcom.
Okay. कुछ pictures में share कर रहा हूँ during the time of Cavium and Marvell and all that. So the question is, when do you really thought it's a sellable company? Yeah, I have to sell this company and move ahead, or does it complements my business? What was the thought process? And before that, you sold the company, you took it to an IPO. मतलब एक पाकिस्तानी है बच्चा माशाल्लाह इन कंपनी स्टार्ट करता है और वो इस लेवल तक जाता है कि उसको आईपीओ करे, वो भी न्यूयॉर्क के अंदर. what was the thought process again there? मतलब किसने गाइड किया, क्या थॉट प्रोसेस है? क्योंकि मैं अपने फ्रेंड को जानता हूँ, सिर्फ उसने मुझे एक आइडिया था, यार मुझे मेरा ड्रीम है कि आई विल टेक माय कंपनी टू एन आईपीओ एंड आई रियली विश he do and I feel he will do inshallah. So it's a big dream actually, even to go with an IPO in United States. So क्या उस वक्त किस वक्त आईपीओ किया था और क्या माइंड में था और क्यों
So
किया
the
था?
thing.
थोड़ा सा ऑडियंस को एज ए इंजीनियर लेके भी गाइड करें कि व्हाट आईपीओ, व्हाई आईपीओ इज आल्सो नीडेड.
So in reality, you don't make businesses to sell. I mean, if you are making a business just to try to sell, then really you are not focused on creating value, right?
Mm-hmm.
You make a business to you create a value, and then of course when there's a value, there will be customer, there will be business, and money will be made. Now, of course, as throughout the Cavium, every year pretty much there was somebody who wanted to buy because we had created value and which has financial value.
Mm-hmm.
However, every time we evaluated, we realized that we can actually do much more. I mean, by ourselves we can grow much bigger than that. So the value that the other company is paying you is just to either remove you as a competition or maybe take over and absorb you, and you will not have any control on that. So as a result of that, we every time we came across such offers and we say, you know what, it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you grow a certain size, for you to be able to invest more, you need funding, you need financial support. So this is where we decided to go public, because when you go public, you can raise fund from the public market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can use that money to do further investment, and do bigger projects. So other thing is also about going public is that your customers understand that, hey, you are not a company which will disappear, because once you go public, all your financial you file is available in the public market. So your
Public, yes.
customer can also have a confidence in you, that they can trust you as a partner and they can depend on you, because hardware business is long term, right? For example, by the time you start designing a product till it will go into the customer product production is a 5 to 7 years later, right? And then that product will last in, say, focus on infrastructure, it will last another 5 to 10 years, right? So somebody is making a 10 plus years decision when they choose your product. So you have to have a lot of credibility, not only on the technical side but also financial stability, that hey, you will be there, right? So that was the one of the primary reason to drive for you to go public. Not only having our funds to invest properly for the future technologies on product, but also having the financial credibility. Now, of course, when we had gone public, after that, we grew the company. In fact, we grew the annual run rate of the revenue of the company to be $1 billion. It took a lot of effort because, for it sounds a small number, $1 billion these days, but in the reality, it's a lot of hard work, right? But then what we realize is, as the process node technology is increasing, we have to be on the forefront of the technology, right? Because we are in a very state of the art cutting edge technology, and cutting edge product processors, which is the most complicated processors. So those tools, those technologies investment are huge. So we needed to scale further. We were already public company. You can't just scale like that. So the only way to scale is if you find a partner, and if you kind of combine your thought process, and you can work together to be a bigger company. So this is when we kind of started working with Marvell, and it seems like at that time the new Marvell management also wanted to grow the company a lot more. So this is where we started discussing, hey, how can we join forces and make a much more scalable, powerful company? It's still driving all the goals that we had, pursuing on those projects, and creating value and creating differentiation. So I would say this is
And Marvell was also your competitor, or it was a complement business?
it was complement. That was the beauty.
Okay.
It was very
Okay.
complementing business. So Marvell was either in storage and networking, and Cavium was leader in processor and security, and the wireless infrastructure. So that's how it combined very well.
Okay, perfectly. I also heard कि आपकी जो sales थी, when you go public and afterwards it rose up to $1 billion annual.
So no, when we went public, of course, at that time revenue was pretty low. I think it was less than $100 million annual, but
How much, sir? Sorry.
less than $100 million at that
Okay.
time, right?
Okay.
But
When you went public. Okay.
when we went public, it was in 2007. But
Mm-hmm.
by 2017, when we right before we acquired, our annual rate was $1 billion.
So you feel कि public जाने की वजह से फायदा हुआ, क्योंकि जाहिर सी बात public की नजर में board of directors are different, and then again you have better people to guide you or something, या फिर आपको लगा कि there was कि technology का time ऐसा आ गया था कि business was booming because of technology as well? So what could be the reason? It could be one factor, could be an IPO, but what could be the biggest reason कि जिसकी वजह से आपका $100 million से $1 billion तक आपका revenue गया within 10 years?
So I would say that, as I said earlier, the processor silicon business is a very long-term business. But you have to keep investing in advance. Every year you have to keep investing, and the real volume ramp comes 7, 8, 9, 10 years later, right? So we when we were going public, we already had established product, established customer base, and we knew these design are going to grow into much higher number, right? And of course, that is why public market investors were willing to invest as well, right? You still need a lot more money to invest in the next generation and next generation and next generations, right? So going public actually gave us a scale to be able to invest, to be able to acquire other companies. So we acquired several other companies, smaller companies, where we not have the right component of the technology. So to complementary solution, we did that, right? So for example, we did a security processor ourselves. We did like a Octeon networking processor ourselves, but we wanted to extend in the wireless infrastructure, right? And we did not have those team who had this core ability, right? So this is where we acquired a company, a smaller company, and we combined our technologies with their knowledge and IP base, and this is how we grew into wireless infrastructure. And today in 5G, actually, the technology which Cavium developed, combined with now Marvell, some of the Marvell technologies, we are the leading merchant silicon provider for 5G infrastructure.
Okay, so the main reason ये है कि you keep complementing the business with other complements, you keep adding the product, you keep adding the value to the customer, and hence your business revenues is 10 times in 10 years.
Almost like that.
Almost like this. Okay. आगे बढ़ते हैं सर। इसमें जब इसकी वैल्यूएशन वगैरह आईपीओ वगैरह से जब होती है तो वो किस तरह से होती है? थोड़ा सा मतलब शॉर्ट ब्रीफ कीजिएगा कि जब वैल्यूएशन वगैरह जब आप करते हैं, when you talk about $6 billion, already you are in the public company, so somehow the people know कि इस कंपनी की वैल्यू कितनी है as an overall. You can just multiply the stock price and all that. So is it like with the same level you then able to sell it, or then again there's a negotiation के merger होने जा रहा है तो इस वजह से? And then after merger, what advantage that you gain, any after merger specifically?
Okay, so just to give you an idea, valuation is always is more of a little bit negotiation, and it's a little bit what is the future potential, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you are going to raise money first time for the startup, even at that
Mm-hmm.
time, the valuation is when the VCs are looking at it. VC are looking the potential of the company, because day one value is zero actually, because you have nothing, right? It's just a bunch of folks, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
idea and the team that you have put together that creates certain value, and how do you value that thing in the future potential. That's how you put together. Now same
Mm-hmm.
concept is going public. The difference in going public is now the investors are public investors rather than venture capitalists, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
look at your business plan, they look at your potential, they look your track history, they look at potential, where how big is the market, what what is the serviceable market for your product, how, if in case of success, how big can this business grow, and
Mm-hmm.
based on that they figure it out how much money would you generate, right? And which is called earning per share and then
Mm-hmm.
they value the company based on that. It's a multiple of earning per share, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some companies you will see has much higher multiple of earning per share, because investors think that it has a potential of growth much higher, and some
Mm-hmm.
companies have much lower multiple of earning per share, because investors think that company is doing good but it has no way of grow further, and as a result of that multiples are less, right? So
Mm-hmm.
two things investor look, earning per share and the potential of growth, right? So the
Okay.
value of the going at IPO was determined based on what investor thought at that time. But
Mm-hmm.
as you grow as a public company, every quarter you provide update. An investor keep adjusting your valuation, which is, you can see any public company, there is some concept called market cap is the valuation of the company, right?
Yes,
And they
absolutely.
keep adjusting the valuation of the company, and as a result of that, actually you keep adjusting the stock price, because stock price
Mm-hmm.
is really multiple of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
so this is exactly. And then once you are a public company, when you go into the like things like merger, again it's the same thing. By combining the company, what value can be created, right? So the value, the markup, the additional value that the acquiring company will pay based on what value would they get in return after
Mm-hmm.
completing the merger, right?
Okay.
So for example, at the time of going in the initial discussion of this merger with Marvell, Cavium market cap was around $4 billion, but
Mm-hmm.
we ended up selling, for $6 billion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was a good increase. However, because we did put together a deal which is half cash, half stock, so by the
Mm-hmm.
time it close, because it takes time, to close the deal. By the time you close the deal, the stock value of Marvell had gone up. So because investor valued the combined company much more than the individual companies, right? So as a
Okay.
result of that, total value of the merger was higher than $6 billion.
ओके परफेक्ट सर अच्छा ऑडियंस से मैं सिर्फ ये कहूंगा कि हम लोग थोड़ी देर बाद क्वेश्चन आंसर स्टार्ट कर देंगे सो कीप कमेंटिंग योर क्वेश्चंस एंड आई विल टेक इंशाल्लाह दिस क्वेश्चन एट द एंड लाइव एज वेल मूविंग फॉरवर्ड सर केवीएम से हवाले से बात थी mashallah you have been successful NEDN. Let's talk about giving back to the community. Let's start with Open Silicon Valley. You are the board member of Open Silicon Valley. Tell us about what Open Silicon Valley is and how does it give back to the Pakistani community.
So Open Silicon Valley is actually an organization here, which is Open means Organization for Pakistani Entrepreneurs, right?
Okay.
It has now chapter all over in the various states in the United States, as well as all over the world in Middle East and Pakistan and so on. The
Mm-hmm.
idea is that we bring folks together. On one side, the folks who have done their own businesses, entrepreneurs, and all that, and also on the other side, the folks who are in the early stages of their journey to be entrepreneur, and
Mm-hmm.
provide them guidance, provide them mentorship, and really at the end of the day provide this networking environment where people can get to know each other. To tell you the truth, if I look back, most of the value I have gotten in my life, and when I say I'm lucky, because I had an opportunity, a luxury to get to know those people who had gone through that journey, who had gone through that path. right? And many times just having that, and yeah, kind of somebody telling you, it is especially a tough time, that hey, don't worry, it happens, things will get better, just keep going, right? So having somebody providing you that support by itself is a huge value, right?
Yes.
Because it's not easy. To tell you the truth, starting a startup is not easy, because many times we think, hey, we have a good job. Most of us who did job first, and you have a good cash flow, good job. It's a tough decision to decide that, hey, I want to quit the job and do it, right? You need somebody who have gone through that process and tell you, okay, does it make sense or not make sense, to make that, to cross that hump, to cross that
So,
barrier.
so is it only mentorship that you provide? Yeah, you also provide as a financial help, or financial investments are also there as a
So
venture. It's also work.
as to tell you truth, we have a mechanism where we bring the folks with the business plan and present to the
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, and because many
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs do their own investments as well, so that
Mm-hmm.
gives chance to do their own individual investment. But open as an organization does not have a venture capitalist fund. Let me put it this way.
Okay. Okay. So how do we reach जो students हैं जो वैली में हैं या पाकिस्तान में हैं, they just reach you through the website of Open Silicon Valley, or how they do it?
So there are many ways we do multiple open events through that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we Or just to reach out, you can just reach out. There is a website there. There is a link for the information and communication and all that. There are programs, mentorship programs, and so on. You can join those too. So there are various ways, and then of course once you reach our open president, she will be able to tell a lot more about what else can be done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. अच्छा, कुछ सवाल हैं audience से. Let me take us live now. Question is, what were your failure, Raghib Saab? Where did you fail? मतलब we always see the successful story only.
True.
कभी ना कभी कुछ ना कुछ failure तो ही होगा, हुआ होगा.
So actually, there are always failure. You learn more through your failures than through your success. Because if you just keep succeeding, you you
Mm-hmm.
you you will never know. It's pure luck, and you won't be able to adapt to the new things, right? So I would say that early on, some of the I should say startup idea, the decision that I had, just to see, now if I look back at it, why it didn't work, I can realize that what were kind of mistakes we were doing, right? So as I said, Cavium was not the first startup. I tried more than one different things, and the issues with them was, either I was too much motivated by just the technology side, without
Mm-hmm.
even looking at what is the market of this, right? Having a cool technology is one thing, but having the technology which is applicable to the rest of the world is another thing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I would say the biggest thing that one has to identify, how big the problem is. So first of all,
Mm-hmm.
what is the problem, right? Because you should be solving a real problem. And then the second thing is this: how big the problem is. That if you have a solution for that problem, how big can you go? How big this idea can grow, right? So I think that
Okay.
was a mistake in some of the initial things, that where I was more fascinated and motivated by the cool technology idea versus worrying about the market. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing is this: you also have to think it. Some of the initial mistakes were also where, we, because we as an engineer, we only value the technology at that time. I did not have much understanding of the business, right? So all the
Mm-hmm.
people we gather with, they're all techies, all engineers, and we used to think, oh, everything else is like 10% value, and all the value is the engineering. In reality, I would say engineering is not more than 20-30%. All other value is, you have to have the understanding how to do the marketing, how to do the sale, how do you build partnerships, how do you establish all these funding and everything. All those things are the, I should say, the pillars for a successful organization, right? So I think the initial mistakes was that I did not understand the value of those things, and as a result of that, I, as a part of team itself, I did not have any such member, right? So those
Okay.
were the before Cavium. And within Cavium also, when we early on started trying to grow, we made a few acquisition. We went into few product direction, which did not pan out. And the reason again for that was that we were trying to maybe expand in too many things at the same time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then when we focus back, we say, hey, this is our core expertise. This is our area. Let's just not try to do, for example, go in consumer, because all our team capabilities and all our products were focused on infrastructure. So let's just keep, when we brought our focus back, we succeeded, right? So
Okay.
there were a lot of learning through all those failures, what matters, what doesn't matter.
Okay, Raghib sir. So I will take further questions, but a very important topic जो मैं touch करना चाहता हूँ, it's about Koshish Foundation, sir. So you're also pioneer of the Koshish, and like you own also this trust for Koshish Foundation. Tell us a little bit about this one, Koshish Foundation. What does it do?
So
And
we
again, it's
started.
about how it is about bringing back values to our students. Yeah, bringing it back to the community. How is it, sir?
Yes, so we started Koshish in late 90s, and the idea was that it was really started by a bunch of Canadians,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea was that, hey, how
And
can
you
we
you
help?
didn't even started KVM, but you started Koshish first. Okay.
Koshish was before Cavium, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we thought about together that how can we bring value back to, especially NED community, and broader in Pakistan. So our focus was education, because if I look at myself, the education was the biggest driver for me to be able to reach where I have reached, right? So
Mm-hmm.
without education, without knowledge, I couldn't do anything. So the idea was, how do we provide access to the similar level of knowledge to the underprivileged folks who cannot. So as a result of that, we did several projects, but I think the project which is going in a sustained way and going in a successful way is our scholarship. So we give 100 scholarship every year to the Canadians. We also implemented a program where we again, it was original thought idea of Professor Noman, that, hey, if there are kids,
Professor
especially
Naman from the electronics department.
from electronic
Yes.
department, yeah,
Okay.
that, hey, there are kids who do the who have the ability, who have gotten admission in good school anywhere in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right, after the, for postgraduate, for PhD, or things like that, but do not have funding. So can we establish some way to fund? So we implemented a concept called pay forward. What pay forward is this, that we fund those people to go and do masters, PhDs, whatever they want to do. But once they are established, they actually fund somebody else in the future. So in a way, we start this chain concept that, hey, we'll fund folks, and then that they end up funding the others, and so on and so forth. So in fact, that program is going really well, I would say. Some of the folks that we invested in are very successful PhDs now, and they are doing in their own way really great work, and now
So
sponsoring.
is it like a interest free loan, or you just pay them?
No. So it's a pay forward. What I mean by that is that we support them, and we expect them to support somebody else, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
in a way, it's starting a chain effect, right? So
Okay.
we'll keep supporting whatever. Let's say we pick, hey, every year we will do 10 such thing, right? 10 such
Mm-hmm.
people, right? But that is limited to 10. Now imagine 10 years later, those 10 also start supporting 10, then it will become 100. And then,
Yeah.
several years later, it will become 1,000, and so on and so forth. So our vision is that this is the best scaling way, where everybody that you support can at least support one more person, and in many cases, in fact, they are supporting more than one person, depending how kind of they feel about it, and so on. And the fact is those folks who have gone through this process, this program, they actually, if you talk to them, they actually feel really great about it, and they feel part of a club, in a way, that, hey, we are just like we were helped, we are helping others.
Okay. Okay. So not only scholarships, it's only for the undergraduate students, or is it something, it has a broader spectrum?
So scholarship is for undergraduate student for the Indians basically,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the PhD program, the master PhD program is in fact is beyond NED, so it can be anybody can apply. We just completed our kind of finalization
Mm-hmm.
of thing, and just to give you an idea, of course we have a smaller number of sponsorship for that because it costs a lot of money to sponsor somebody, for higher education.
Mm-hmm.
However, total number of applications were large, which made me feel good that hey, these people sitting in Pakistan are able to get admission in recognized universities for great programs and so on,
So it
right?
means अगर किसी के पास मास्टर्स के लिए पैसे नहीं है लेकिन उसका एडमिशन हो गया है, या पीएचडी के लिए पैसे नहीं है उसका एडमिशन हो गया, you will still
Is
fund him.
eligible to, yes.
Zabardast. So it's like an open in open, and is it for NED only, or is it
So
for
this one
anybody?
is beyond NED. So this is
This one is
broader.
beyond NED.
Yeah.
ठीक है. So जो भी ऑडियंस में है, if you take this information and absorb it, और जो भी आपके सर्कल में है, please tell anyone, because that's the thing that motivates a good brain as well. पाकिस्तान से कहीं भी आपके सर्कल में है, एनईडी है, किसी भी और यूनिवर्सिटी का है, you tell them कि आपको poverty should not stop you. There is means, there is way that you can really pursue your education wherever level. Nextly, sir, you also supported a lab in NED. What was this experience?
So yeah, so we've of course we were working various things with NED, and we try to. I really wanted to promote the out of the box thinking in an innovation environment, and
Mm-hmm.
and this concept is very common in United States and other countries, which is called a sponsoring a chair, where you pretty much have funding for. To sponsor a specific project or a specific type of research and so on, right? At that time, NED did not have a formal structure. Now, I believe Lodi Sahab have implemented a formal structure of sponsoring a chair. So, in the
Mm-hmm.
absence of the structure, we through under the umbrella of Koshish, we said, okay, fine, why don't we sponsor something? Because AI was in the artificial intelligence was in the early stages at that time, and we said, hey, let's just sponsor. Working with the professor and sponsor the at least 6 7 students for that who will get monthly stipend to work on after NED work in that lab to do a research in a certain field. So I would say that experiment went really well. In fact, I had to support them for a few years financially, but then they became established, and now they are getting research projects or actual some of the commercial projects also the from all over the world. I mean, the last time I synced up with them, they had a project from Australia, they had a project from Germany to do various kind of AI-based automation systems, right? So I would say that overall, I'm pretty happy with that overall program that we started several years ago.
Okay, so now I will take some more questions from the audience. Question is, my question: entrepreneurship is being taught as a course in undergraduate at NED. How can we make it effective for the final year students? Will the course help? Kind of
So
like
I would
academic
say,
question. Mm-hmm.
just to give an idea. So in our time, there was no such course.
Mm-hmm.
There was no such I should say even nobody even knew the word entrepreneurship as such, right? But I think that more than a course, the culture, the environment will help. What I mean by that is this: that yes, you can read things in books, right? But until you indulge yourself in that type of situation, you do not really learn what is the real entrepreneurship. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
in the second year, third year of NED, there was no such course, there was no such requirement. But I remember with the groups of like Tanveer and Rehan and others, we used to go and find the projects to do for which we will get paid. Like, so for
Mm-hmm.
example, we did a project with, those LED displays you have seen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
build those LED displays. We did build those LED displays for certain companies, and we
Mm-hmm.
got paid for that actually. That gave
Mm-hmm.
us a whole idea. What does it take to go the sell this ability? What does it take to really go find the right components to build this solution and so on? So I would
Mm-hmm.
say I would rather instead of a formal entrepreneurship course. I would rather like to have clubs. In a Western society, there are concept of study clubs or project clubs in schools and colleges where the like-minded people come and work together, right? And find a problem around you. You do not have to find a problem which is a global level problem and which only can be done in countries like United States or something. I mean, Pakistan is a big country, and there are like 200 million plus people. Um, they have all kind of challenges, all kind of problems to be solved, right?
Okay.
Um, Especially in the healthcare and the education sector, there are a lot of innovation can be done, right? So
Okay.
if you find a problem, you implement a solution for that. That by itself is a very
It's a
good.
value creation and a business idea. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. Let me take the next question, please, sir. I see a lot of books at the back shelf. Your top three must read.
My top three must read. Okay, that's a tough one question because I
Hmm.
I have a various different segments of reading. So I keep first of all I would say um, learning is a lifelong process. You should keep reading books because books are the best way to learn. Right now, of course, I have interest in the reading on the literature side, and this is where I think Iqbal is the best. My favorite kind of writer, I should say. Now, but on
Hmm.
the other hand, I also keep reading about the evolution of how the world evolved, how the technology. In that way, there's a book called Sapien. I think that is a very good book about to understand how human being evolve, how the society, how the world evolved, and so on, right?
Hmm.
And then there are various other topics I keep reading in I should say in the business side. So it's hard to pick one of them, but I think Jim Collins books are good in those business topics.
Okay. Okay. Next question. I like this question. Have you ever thought of opening a branch of Cavium in Karachi?
So I have thought many times actually, right? In fact,
Hmm.
I tried also. That one of the challenges is this when we because we are in
Because
a
sir, this question I especially like because I've seen my brother is also in Silicon Valley, and I've seen that from our neighboring country, जो भी owner या है entrepreneur है, he always tried to open an office back in our neighboring country. So is it like the thought process that the Pakistani community have as well? We asked the same question to Mr. Rehan Jalil, and he said that he has a considerable amount of people working
that is
for
true.
him, Karachi. Yes.
So
So,
yeah,
sir.
so the difference is this that of course my business versus Rehan business is what kind of talents do you have available in that market, right? So we are
Mm-hmm.
in a very cutting edge processor design, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of that, it is really and Pakistan is not even from the education point of view, ASIC design and all that. Professor Naman Saab started teaching a little bit in NED, but really it's not at that level where you can create a workforce to be able to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we so as
So,
a
sir,
result
as
of
a
that,
supplementary question, do you think that we can bridge it between you and the NED to put some courses so that this
that is a
technology is?
possibility, but I
Mm-hmm.
prefer other way. So for example,
Okay.
why am I sponsoring other things and not the ASIC design? Because
Mm-hmm.
as a market, I would say it's a older technology, older business segment and all that. The silicon business is very tough business these days.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think where Pakistan can make a huge difference, and that is why I'm involved in bunch of education side as well as on the business side in there, is on AI. So
Okay.
AI is the next forefront of the
Futuristic, more
technology,
futuristic.
right?
Okay.
More futuristic, and it is in the early stages. If we invest in that right now, and if we train our workforce in that right now, this is where the future will be, and it will give much better return. Now, of course, it if my company directly is not doing anything in that, it I may not be able to get benefit out of it. However, other companies can, and the society in general will get benefit. And that is why when I talked to Imran Khan and the president of Pakistan, we did last year we did talk about it. How do we start the AI initiative? In fact, president of Pakistan has started the education and the AI initiative. Of course, there's a long way to go. The system can be improved further, but that is a start, I would say.
Okay. One more question. Can you please guide us post-pandemic? What is one important skill that is essential for increasing the business acumen?
Okay, that is a very, very interesting, very good question, I should say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say this pandemic is going to change the way we live, the way we work, and the way we entertain ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I would encourage everybody to think out of the box of the norms of the past and norms of the limitations of the past, right? And this is where you can come up with a creative idea. So, for example, I can give you an example where you can look around it and say what was done differently before and will be done differently now, right? And what are kind of challenges and problems will be created. So, for example, right now in work environment, everybody is doing this video conferencing and all those sort of a thing. However, that video conferencing environment can keep doing the work, which is I should say the already planned thing, but it is slowing down the innovation. It is slowing down the concept of whiteboarding, right? And there's no application right now which can allow you to do whiteboarding effect very in a very natural, easy to use way, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no concept of water cooler discussion, right? Because many of the great ideas are generated at the water cooler, where people and different expertise, different areas come together just to grab water or just to grab tea or coffee or something. And this is where they share the idea. They have just random out of the box thought. This is where the innovation happens. There's no
Mm-hmm.
platform today which allows to do it in a COVID. I would say COVID is maybe accelerator. That kind of platform was needed anyway, because the world is a flat now. So it is almost impossible that all the developers are present in one room all the time. So if you have such a platform which gives you an equivalent of being in one room from all over the world, that will be beautiful. That is a multi-billion-dollar product ideas.
Sure.
Similarly, the whole kind of supply chain, the whole delivery system and all that. How do you optimize it? How do you make it efficient and safe in a way? So there are many, many such ideas. So I would encourage everybody to look around yourself and see how things will be done differently in future, right? And what kind of challenges and problems, and just find a solution for that.
ओके एक मैसेज भी ये आया है कि मैडम नीलोफर मास्टर जो है वो भी हमारे साथ वॉच कर रही हैं, तो मैं तो पहले प्राउड फील करता हूँ कि मैडम हमारे साथ हैं, मैं वॉच कर रही हैं. थैंक यू वेरी मच मैडम. वी आर योर प्राउड स्टूडेंट्स एंड मे अल्लाह गिव यू ऑल दी हेल्थ एज वेल. So any comments to Madam Nilofer Master, Raghib sir?
Of course, she knows me better than anybody else. So, I'm really grateful to have her in my life in various ways, and she has always provided me support and guidance and mentorship throughout. So I'm really grateful to you, and I really am thankful to all the help that you have provided, and thank you for listening to this talk too.
Sure. Just to conclude and all that, what is your final remarks?
So,
What message you want to give us to the audience, the engineers who's watching and who will be watching in because I do weekly shows, so the people keep watching it to the complete week. So, what message you want to give it to them?
So I always tell the fellow engineer the same thing, and I'll repeat it. If you look at my whole track, what was the probability of succeeding? If you do the analysis, it will be pretty low. I mean, somebody coming from a very humble background and reaching where I am, so it's really low. But the way I think it is that if I can do it, you can do it. So first of all, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and believe in your capability, because that belief is something that drives you, gives you an extra energy which is logically unexplainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have that strong belief that what one man can do, anybody can do. So you can do. It's a matter of how much you are willing to sacrifice for it, how much hard work you are willing to do for that, right? And don't underestimate, you will have to sacrifice other things in life, and you will have to do a lot of hard work, right? So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of failure, because failures are part of life. You actually learn more through failure, and every time you fail, you can say, hey, I'll come back with more energy and with better preparation, right? The most important thing that has helped me in my life is the value of time, because time is the only thing which nobody can have more, right? Everybody has equal, right? And it really depends how do you invest your time. So anything you do in your life, see what is the return of that. Return can be, hey, I just want to enjoy this 1 hour, that's okay. But having a conscious thought that, hey, I am spending this time, why am I spending this time, just that thought actually will guide you much better in your life, right? Versus going with the flow and not knowing what you are doing, right? And then focus on creating value, right? Aspire, you should have aspiration and passion and purpose to create value, right? And in that, you should really dream big. But a dream without a goal and without a focus is useless. It only makes you I should say, depressed, right? Because if you do not have a plan, how would you get there? And you want to get there, it will only make you frustrated, right? So have a short term, long term plan. Have a plan to step by step how would you get to that dream. Have a discipline to follow those, right? And then adapt according along the way, because nobody knows. For example, when we started Cavium, we did not know where we are going. We did not even know that we'll go become that big, right? But as you go forward, you adapt yourself with that, and then go with that. So those are some of the few things I appreciate. I believe, um, all there are a lot of great talent, especially in India and especially in Pakistan. I believe the resources that are available now are much better than what were resources available to us. So I expect much bigger ventures coming out of it, right? We just need to focus, value the time, focus on creating value, and not don't be afraid.
Thank you, sir. These are the golden words. We must listen and understand and keep us with us always. Thank you very much for your time, sir. And audience, also thank you very much for your time. Last comments is that see and comment and give us your feedback. Also, if you want to see this video uploaded, you can also click the link. It's a YouTube link, and then you can see the videos afterwards. Thank you very much, audience.
Thank you.